While the Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court of Virginia are sitting, all persons having business with this court will draw near and give their attention. Any having pleas to enter or suits to prosecute, let them come forward and they shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth and this honorable court.
Please be seated. Welcome to this special session of the Supreme Court of Virginia and to the 2024 Pro Bono Summit. I am Chief Justice S. Bernard Goodwin of the Supreme Court of Virginia. All the justices of the Supreme Court of Virginia are present. The audio of this session is being live streamed on a link which can be accessed at vacourts.gov. On behalf of the court, I thank you all for being here today and for the good work that you do coordinating and providing legal services to those who are unable to afford them. We appreciate your taking the time to attend this summit and hope that it will inform, assist, and encourage you in the important work that you do. I would like to thank Nicole Harrell and David Greenspan, the Summit co-chairs, and the Virginia Bar Association for their efforts in organizing this summit. The Pro Bono Summit has long endeavored to add and draw attention to efforts to close the justice gap and to improve access to justice and pro bono service all around our state. Access to justice issues are important to the Supreme Court of Virginia because we understand our obligation to make sure our courts are as fair as we can possibly make them. The courts of the Commonwealth must be affordable, user-friendly, and accessible for them to truly provide equal justice to everyone. That is why we're here today, to discuss and further the goal of closing the justice gap in the Commonwealth and giving everyone, regardless of their economic status, the equal access to justice that they have a right to and a need for. Again, thank you for being here. The court looks forward to continuing to work with you all to promote pro bono service and to improve access to justice in the Commonwealth. Welcome, everyone.
May it please the court. In preparation for today's Pro Bono Summit, I looked back at some of the comments made by prior speakers, as well as a number of the VBA journal articles written about pro bono service. There are certainly some constants, but there has also been significant change. And in terms of change, I'm not talking about how young we all looked many years ago. In 2015, then VBA President Pete Johnson stated, "Pro bono today is more important than ever. Challenging economic conditions impact disadvantaged populations acutely. The private bar must step up with our creativity, technological, and other resources and energy." Nearly 10 years later, this statement holds true in every regard. At each biennial pro bono summit since 2010, members of the bar have presented to the court the ongoing needs and challenges, as well as the successes in our ongoing efforts to encourage and increase pro bono service, to create pro bono programs, and to ease the bar's ability to fund and participate in pro bono opportunities. While we'll pause today for a few minutes to report to the court those ongoing progresses, efforts, and programs, please rest assured that we are keenly aware that our work is not nearly done. To borrow words from my colleagues Scott Osteich and Lori Thompson, will continue to strive to build a constant awareness of our civic obligation to give back so that pro bono service is an expectation of all Virginia lawyers. On behalf of David Greenspan, my co-chair of the Pro Bono Council, and each of today's speakers, we are honored to stand before you and present the Chief Justice's Pro Bono Summit. To begin today, I'd like to welcome Ryan Snow, President of the Virginia Bar Association, followed by Chitty James, President of the Virginia State Bar.
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court. I'm Ryan Snow. I'm the president of the Virginia Bar Association. I want to welcome everyone here on behalf of the VBA and on behalf of the VBA's Pro Bono Council. And I especially want to thank the Chief Justice and the entire Supreme Court of Virginia for continuing to support this summit and all the ideas behind it. And I want to thank David Greenspan and Nicole Harrell, who are the co-chairs of the VBA's Pro Bono Council, and all of the members of that council. Their council has been an incubator for so many pro bono efforts in Virginia, and it's instrumental in putting on this summit. It was about 15 years ago when a group of VBA leaders worked with then Chief Justice Leroy Hassell to create this summit. And some of those folks are in this room today. And to realize his mission to elevate the importance of pro bono efforts in Virginia is absolutely important. A decade and a half later, the VBA is still proud to host this event side by side with the Chief Justice. And Your Honors, I can confirm that we have every intention to continue to do that. I travel a good bit in this role, and I joked at a luncheon earlier today that I feel like I see the Chief Justice and my friend, State Bar President Chitty James, almost weekly. And I didn't know if I'm just very lucky or they're unlucky. It was mildly funny. It was well delivered. But there's a serious point to that confluence today. You have before you the highest positions in the Supreme Court, in the Virginia Bar Association, in the Virginia State Bar, and the councils and commissions that we've set up, and legal aid, all here in one place, all highly motivated, and all supporting a single purpose. What does that mean? That means we're going to get things done. It means we're going to get things done. I'm excited to hear the reports today. I think it's fascinating. It's extremely important. We are all privileged in here, and with that privilege comes an obligation to help those that we can help. On behalf of the VBA and on behalf of our VBA Pro Bono Council, I thank you for everything you do for the pro bono cause, and I welcome you here today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
To whom much is given, much is expected. May it please the court, Chief Justice, Justice of the Supreme Court of Virginia, I thank you, and I greet you on behalf of the Virginia State Bar. President Snow, Ryan, he's right that we have traveled the Commonwealth together, and I thank the VBA for its leadership in this area and for the partnership that we have enjoyed together. So I'm president of the Virginia State Bar for the next, I don't have my watch, but 24 days, President. And I just want to say how grateful I am for the leadership of the court on this. I was first introduced to pro bono service by the partners in my law firm. One of them is here, Rob Stoney is here with us today. And they set an example that showed us all how important it is. So it's wonderful that we have the leaders of law firms here today, the leadership in the different bar associations, because people who are coming up through the ranks are looking at you and at us and what we do and our attitudes towards pro bono service. And when they see how important it is for us, that will make it important to them and in their careers. So just one other thing that I wanted to touch on. Lawyers make up less than 1/2 of 1% of the population. Yet we have the keys to the courthouse, and our influence on society is outsized. So with that outsized influence comes great responsibility. And that was the point of my quote from the beginning. So I just want to thank the court and all of you for being here today for this Pro Bono Summit. And I look forward to receiving the wonderful reports of the work that's being done. Thank you.
Mr. Chief Justice, members of the court, I'm David Newmeyer, Executive Director of Virginia Legal Aid Society, and I'm here on behalf of the Pro Bono Council of the BVA. In May of this year, the Pro Bono Council asked executive directors and leaders of nonprofit legal providers in Virginia to take part once again in a survey, updating prior surveys identifying Virginia's top needs by type of case for pro bono assistance from the private bar. 20 separate nonprofit providers responded, 5 more than in 2022. Major findings were that providers indicated they had placed almost 6,000 cases in 2023, a dramatic increase of about 2,700 or 82.7% from the 3,200 cases placed in 2021, and an increase of over 300 cases from the 5,600 cases placed in 2019. Meaning the rate of placement has fully recovered from the pandemic. The providers indicated, however, that they could have placed more than 9,000 cases with more volunteers, a gap of over 3,000 cases that could have been placed but weren't. This gap of over 3,000 grew in 2023 from a gap of 1,800 in 2021, an increase of 72.5%. The gap between cases placed and what could have been placed has also grown dramatically, matching the increase in the rate of cases placed. Note that these numbers do not describe the total additional pro bono need in Virginia, only the additional cases that could have been placed by current providers using current staff. In the first section of our report, in descending order of need, are the top 10 statewide pro bono needs identified by the providers. Some providers serve hundreds of clients with pro bono volunteers each year and would like to serve hundreds more, while some providers serve dozens and would like to serve dozens more. Next parts of the report include all needs identified in our survey in order of strength of need. Special projects including Virginia Free Legal Answers and the Justice Server Pro Bono portal that make it easier for attorneys to find and respond to pro bono opportunities, and a refugee project in Charlottesville, Albemarle. And the final part lists all participating providers individually with contact information and types of case needs. The top 10 needs from pro bono and other nonprofit providers is private landlord-tenant is in first place, which is usually the case, followed by divorce, separation, and annulment, advanced directives and powers of attorney, custody and visitation, wills and estates, collection, federally subsidized housing rights, disability, domestic abuse, and adult guardianship and conservatorships. A notable factor in how many attorneys can engage in pro bono is the number of practicing attorneys available to help clients in a jurisdiction. We are therefore very pleased that President Chitty James has formed a study committee with the State Bar to study the twin problems of legal deserts and the decline in the number of law graduates taking the Virginia Bar. The full committee is named EGAD Virginia, for Entry, Growth, and Distribution of Virginia Attorneys. There are 2 subcommittees. The first focused on the overall problem of not enough lawyers coming into wanting to practice in Virginia, and that is named Legal, for Lawyers Enhancing General Access to Legal Services. The subcommittee studying the problem of legal deserts, areas where there are not enough lawyers by a long shot, is called Optimizing Access to Attorney Services in the State, or OASIS. I contacted the ABA staff director in charge of pro bono issues to ask if there were national statistics to which I could compare this report, and the ABA does not have anything similar to what we have, but she did tell me that they are in the process of finalizing their latest Supporting Justice report, which is a regular national survey of pro bono across the country It's reports that 70% of attorneys nationally report doing pro bono work. Most get their pro bono clients from friends, families, and other sources, but there is no indication what percentage of these are low income or otherwise qualify under Rule 6.1, which can include mentoring, education, and service on committees as well. 42% say they provide brief services and brief advice. A minority receive their pro bono clients from formal pro bono programs which have income tests, and 30% reporting doing no pro bono. The report is a starting point for understanding the types of legal problems most often faced by low-income Virginians for which providers need help from the private bar. To learn more about volunteer opportunities and get involved, we urge all attorneys to contact the providers directly and to visit the pro bono pages of the State Bar and the Virginia Bar Association for more information and resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
May it please the court. My name is Allison Held, and I am Associate General Counsel and Director of the Medical Legal Partnership at VCU Health System, the largest safety net hospital in Central Virginia. You may be wondering why a lawyer for our hospital is here today, and it is because our mission at VCU is to preserve and restore health for all people in Virginia and beyond through innovation in service, research, and education. The Medical Legal Partnership, or MLP, is essential to this mission by ensuring access to justice for our patients. We know that good health requires more than good health care, so we complement health care with legal care. Our physicians, nurses, social workers refer patients and families to a lawyer in much the same way they would refer any patient to any subspecialty like cardiology or psychology. At VCU, we are committed to addressing social determinants of health because we know, and all the studies show, that long-term health outcomes are as dependent on social circumstance as they are on the medical care received. So while we know that we are improving people's lives every day inside the walls of our clinics, we recognize that circumstances outside the clinic, such as a lack of food or stable housing or a problem at work or at home, can have a profound effect on patient health. So we make lawyers part of the healthcare team at VCU to address social issues that are rooted in legal problems and have a remedy in civil law. We provide pro bono services in almost every area of law, including housing, family law, employment, public benefits, consumer, estate planning, immigration, and special education. Many of our patients would not have access to a lawyer but for their visit to the hospital to see their doctor. Many of our patients would not trust a lawyer but for the relationship their doctor, nurse, or social worker has with their lawyer. We build on that trust developed between our clinical teams and our patients to provide legal services that improve people's lives in ways that pills and surgery and the best in medical care can't. In the words of one of our pediatricians at the Children's Hospital, the partnership of doctors and lawyers is an incredible professional synergy. He said, quote, "Having this sort of ally in our fight has been a truly transformative experience for us and for our patients." I want to share with you a recent case example, a classic MLP case, the kind that we receive from our Children's Hospital on repeat. At the Children's Hospital, we receive the majority of our referrals from the pulmonary clinic for families with children who have asthma and who are living in substandard housing conditions that exacerbate and contribute to poor health outcomes for these kids. In a recent case, we received a referral from a community health worker who conducted a home visit for a family of 4, a single mom and 3 children with asthma, living below the federal poverty level. The community health worker reported that the apartment was full of mold and moisture, and the family had repeatedly requested that the landlord address these issues. The landlord ignored these requests. The patient's physician wrote a letter to the landlord explaining that mold is a well-known asthma trigger and urging the landlord to assess the apartment and address these issues. The landlord ignored this letter. The family was then referred to the MLP, and the attorney, in this case a legal aid attorney, was able to take that letter from the physician, attach it to the request for reasonable accommodation based on the patient's asthma, and the repairs were made immediately. Doctors and lawyers are more effective together as advocates for patients. Since this is the Pro Bono Summit, I want to share that there are two kinds of cases in which we rely almost exclusively on the private bar to provide pro bono services, and they are immigration and special education. We have wait lists and limiting criteria for these cases because we do not have enough attorneys willing to take them pro bono. We take immigration case referrals only for patients whose immigration status affects their ability to access necessary health care and who have a good faith claim for asylum or special immigrant juvenile status. For children, the filing of these petitions results in Medicaid eligibility. The majority of our immigration cases are for kids who need life-saving treatment, a kidney transplant, or a bone marrow transplant, and will not be approved by the transplant committee without insurance because the long-term prognosis is poor. Legal advocacy in this area saves lives, and we are not doing enough of it. Advocacy in special education cases is equally important. Education and not income is the best predictor of long-term health and life expectancy. We want our children to be successful in school. It is good for the health of our kids, our families, and our community. We help families request special accommodations, create and enforce IEPs, and handle bullying cases. These cases don't require a court appearance. Often the attorney's job is to coach our families ahead of parent-teacher conferences, advise them of their rights and their options, and to educate and empower them to advocate for themselves. It is an important skill and one that translates to all other areas of life. In closing, I want to thank the court for hosting this summit and for its support of pro bono in the Commonwealth. At VCU, we believe that a lawyer is an important part of a patient's healthcare team. Our legal aid partners are outstanding, but they can't do it all. We increasingly rely on the private bar to provide holistic, comprehensive care to our patients to create a safer, healthier, and more equitable community through access to justice. Thank you.
May it please the court. Mr. Chief Justice, Justices, and to everyone assembled here, my name is Susan Stoney, and I'm here excited to report to you on a new program that Fairfax County has adopted in coordination with the Fairfax Bar Association and County Board of Supervisors, and that is the Fairfax Courthouse Self-Help Resource Center. Mr. Chief Justice, as you will recall, in December of 2021, this court adopted a resolution proposed by the Virginia Access to Justice Commission for the creation of pilot self-help resource centers around the Commonwealth. The idea was that these pilot self-help centers could assist unrepresented litigants by providing them with basic legal information and resources to help them navigate the court system on their own to meet their legal needs. Public faith and trust in the courts is a cornerstone of our system of justice. In adopting its resolution, this court recognized the need for public trust and the importance of providing self-represented litigants with information necessary to protect their interest and participate in the proceedings in a meaningful way. The 2021 resolution urged Virginia courts, judges, clerks, partner nonprofit agencies to create pilot self-help centers within district courthouses that would provide legal information to self-represented litigants and to report back on the successes achieved and challenges encountered by such centers. It is my pleasure to report to you now on the implementation of the newly formed Fairfax County Courthouse Self-Help Resource Center. Hopefully, this center can provide a template for other jurisdictions in the Commonwealth who may be considering the implementation of similar centers. In October of 2022, Fairfax County community stakeholders began a year of roundtable strategic planning meetings and to discuss the needs and challenges involved in developing a public self-help center. With community support and, importantly, with political support and funding approved by the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, the Fairfax Courthouse Self-Help Center officially launched in October 2023. Structurally, the center is located in the law library space within the Fairfax Courthouse complex, which houses the General District Court, J&DR Court, and the Circuit Court. The center employs a full-time staff coordinator who is employed by the Fairfax Bar Association through funding by the county. The center operates during normal courthouse business hours, Monday through Friday, and assists individuals on a first-come, first-served basis, regardless of income, as a public service. The center receives referrals from each of the clerk's offices, as well as courthouse staff, judges, county agencies, and nonprofits. Importantly, the center provides information only, not legal advice. It refers individuals seeking legal advice to the Bar Association Lawyer Referral Service located in the courthouse and to legal aid just down the street. The original stakeholder group has now formalized into a standing committee made up of judges, court staff, Bar Association members, and law library staff, county agencies, and nonprofits, including legal aid, coordinated services planning, the Office of the Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney and Public Defender, and the County Board of Supervisors and Sheriff's Office. The Standing Committee meets quarterly. Its purpose is to provide ongoing support and guidance to the center as it evolves to meet the continuing needs of the community. Since its inception last October, the center has served over 1,500 individuals and has provided information, court forms, and instructions on a variety of topics, including custody and visitation, support, landlord and tenant rights for both landlords and tenants, criminal record expungement, driver license restoration, name changes, and uncontested divorce matters. The Standing Committee and Coordinator also provide regular reports to the local Access to Justice Committee, chaired by Circuit Court Judge John Tran, who has made the center an initiative of the local committee. The center now has its own website located on the Fairfax County system. It continues to expand materials listed on the website as it grows to meet the demands of the public. There are currently plans in place to provide options for virtual access to the center through Zoom and Microsoft Teams at different county location facilities around the county. This would allow members of the public who live some distance from the courthouse to access services without the need to travel to the courthouse. The center continues to grow and address the needs of the community. We in Fairfax appreciate the continued support of this court and the Access to Justice Commission, as well as local support of Fairfax County, without whom the center would not be possible. Thank you.
Mr. Chief Justice and Justice of the Supreme Court, my name is Chris Malone. I'm a member of the Richmond Bar and the firm of Thomas McMullen. I may please the court. On behalf of the members of Firms and Service Richmond, I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on our combined efforts to address the needs of pro bono service in the Richmond region. As the court may recall, the idea for what is now Firms and Service Richmond was originated in 2007 when George Hetrick of Hunton & Williams had the vision to call together the pro bono leadership of some of the largest law firms in Richmond to begin to discuss ways to better collaborate without competition and fear of competition, and to commit to open and frank discussion about how to foster and encourage a culture of pro bono service in their respective firms, and also to begin to work together to address pro bono needs in our region together and not alone. From those early meetings among pro bono leaders at Hunton & Williams, McGuire Woods, Troutman, Pepper, and Williams and Mullen, the foundation of what is now Firms and Service Richmond was conceived. From the outset, the goal and the intent was to expand the membership in the group, and my firm was greatly privileged to have been honored to participate very early on in 2007. We've been honored since that time, and we were honored today to be part of this process. Currently, we have 16 law firms and law departments as members, with well over 1,200 lawyers employed in our member firms and law departments. From the outset, the purpose of Firms and Service has been clear and unchanging. It's simple and there's no secret sauce. Simply stated, our goal is to provide a forum for pro bono leaders at each of our member firms and law departments to gather together, to share about pro bono efforts each firm is undertaking, to support the development of new initiatives, to address unmet needs, to support new ideas like justice server, pro bono triage, eviction diversion, and others, to address emerging needs for pro bono services, to creatively respond to requests for specific assistance from Central Virginia Legal Aid and other pro bono providers. But most importantly, what we do together is encourage, create, and sustain a culture of pro bono service in our member firms and law departments. Quite happily, I should say, our group has never yielded to the temptation to adopt a charter. We've never drafted bylaws, and we haven't elected officers. And that's great good news. Instead, in alignment with George Hetrick's original vision, leadership is shared among all of our members. Regular meetings of members are held on the second Tuesday of every other month without fail. Each meeting is hosted by a different member on a rotating basis. Our agenda each time we gather includes sharing of information about our ongoing pro bono programs that are sponsored by each member firm or law department. We hear about requests for support for new initiatives for expanded pro bono service. We receive reports from our partners at the Greater Richmond Bar Foundation, Central Virginia Legal Aid, Virginia Poverty Law Center, the Carrico Center at the University of Richmond, and others who bring before us immediate needs for pro bono service in our region. And what very frequently happens at those meetings is those opportunities are presented to our group and they are responded to on the spot, which is quite amazing to watch. They're parceled out among our member firms and those matters are addressed very quickly. At our meetings, we also take time to share the best practices developed by members of our group to encourage and foster a culture of pro bono service in our respective firms and law departments. And that may be the secret sauce. This sharing of information is invaluable in providing encouragement to all our members to continue to move the needle forward within our own firms and law departments by adopting proven practices that have been used by our other members to promote pro bono service by all attorneys. Over the years, we've been intentional, and we've gathered and freely shared information amongst ourselves about how members measure pro bono efforts, how pro bono efforts are accounted for and incentivized, how minimum requirements for pro bono work service can be developed and implemented, and how firm resources can and must be allocated to support pro bono work. The sharing of that information with our respective firm management and law department leaders has been of great benefit. Great benefit to each of our members in assisting our members in establishing and supporting that very important culture of pro bono service. As part of our commitment to firms and service locally, all members make an annual financial commitment to support the Greater Richmond Bar Foundation and its work, and to collectively we all commit to achieving a goal of 3% of attorney time devoted to pro bono efforts. As we begin our 18th year and approach adulthood, Firms and Service remains committed to continuing to grow and sustain that culture of pro bono service in each of our member firms and law departments. We know that we can accomplish that because we try to do it together. And the support we gain from one another, the encouragement, the fraternal correction we receive from time to time is of great value to each of us. The very good news I can share with the court is that the next generation of pro bono leaders is already now in the forefront of leadership in our member firms and law departments, and they're ready to guide the future of our efforts. I'm told privately that I'm here today because I'm the oldest member still standing. But I'm encouraged to say that I have a young lawyer in my firm who will take my place soon. We're continuing to look to add our members and looking to any Richmond firms, Richmond region firms here who would like to join us. We'd love to have you with us. The future is great. The future view is wonderful. The collaboration that's been taking place has taken hold, and George Hetrick's dream has come true, at least in this small way. On behalf of the Firms and Service, we greatly appreciate the encouragement and the support that's been given to our work by the court, and we pledge again our continued effort to carry forward the vision that unites us in commitment to pro bono service. Thank you.
May it please the court. My name is Roy Creasy. I'm a lawyer emeritus and work at the Legal Aid Society of Roanoke Valley. I'm proud to be a lawyer, and I'm proud to be a member of the Virginia State Bar. But these are bad times for the law. I've never seen the rule of law more challenged than it is being challenged now. And for us to sustain that challenge, we have to be strong. And to be strong, we have to provide justice for all of our citizens, because without doing that, our system is not as good as it should be. This court and the Virginia Bar have been great leaders in this area. And what we have now is based in full on what they have done. But it's up to us as members of the bar and for us to encourage the other members of the bar to do what they are required to do. There's an aspirational goal of every lawyer spending 2% of their professional time on pro bono work. If that was being done today, we would probably not have to even have this summit. One of the things the bar has done is the Lawyer Emeritus Program. On the website, it's called TIES, Transition into Emeritus Status. And what it provides for is retired lawyers like myself to sign up and qualify. So what are the qualifications? You have to be retired and been in active practice 5 of your last 7 years. You have to be retired 20 years. You can't have had any ethical problems within the last 15. And you will work for a properly authenticated and approved organization. Legal Aid is the main one, but there are some other ones as well. What do you get by being an emeritus? Well, the first thing I've really enjoyed is everyone remembers me now because I'm showing up at the courthouse again. So that you don't forget you. You get to go to court, which is still great. I've enjoyed going to court, and I still enjoy it. And so I get to keep my finger wet as being a lawyer, which is a real advantage. I also don't have to pay bar dues. Sorry, Chitty. And we don't have to do that. And the bar provides vouchers for CLEs for all the requirements that we all have to provide. And perhaps, and you can set your own schedule. There's no minimum number of hours or maximum number of hours. You can work as much as you want. I find that I'm working a lot more than I expected to work, but that's all right too. Finally, you get to give back. All of us owe a great deal. We've all been blessed. And so we all have an obligation to give back. And I'm a lawyer, and this is what I have to give back, is what legal skills I have. And I'm going to give the first pop quiz of the day. I'm going to give you a multiple choice question, and I'm going to tell you your options, and I'm going to see how we're going to vote and see how many we have. The question is, how many lawyer emeritus are there in Virginia? And these are your options. A will be 150 or more. B will be 100 to 150. C will be 50 to 100. And D will be less than 50. So how many people say it's over 150? That's a good answer. How many people will say it's between 100 to 150? I got a few. How many will say it's between 50 and 100? Got some more. And how many people will say it's less than 50? Unfortunately, that's the right answer. There are 31 of us at this time, and this program has been in force now for 7 years. That's not what we need. We need to go tell those friends of ours who have recently retired or in the process of retiring, this is available to you. There's a lot of advantages. You can work as hard as you want. And this is something we need to promote, all of us. As one who works in the legal aid trenches, I want to thank this court, and I want to thank the Virginia Bar. I want to thank all of you for all that you've done in the past and all that you will do in the future so we can narrow this justice gap that we all face. Thank you.
Good afternoon. May it please the court, Justices of the Supreme Court. My name is Dan Ortiz, and I am the representative of the Court of Appeals on the Access to Justice Commission. And I am here today to report on our pro bono recognition project. And first, I want to thank the court for approving our project and giving us this forum today to thank all the members of the bars for all their outstanding contributions. We're in year 5 of the pro bono reporting. So a couple of just general details for you all. This past year of July 1, 2022 to June of 2023, we had more than 355,000 hours of reported pro bono service. We had more than $1.7 million in donations reported. The donations are slowly creeping up. The hours are sort of leveling off. But let me provide you a brief overview of some of the recognition in this past year. We had 1,119 Virginia attorneys achieve commission recognition as part of this program. In order to do so, they had to register, report their hours, and make sure you continue to do so we're able to recognize you. We had 8 pro bono service champions. These distinguished attorneys reported on more than 5,272 hours amongst the 8 of them. They each had more than 490 hours of pro bono service in a single year by themselves. Quite an impressive stat. 5 of those distinguished attorneys are here with us today. We'll go through them. You'll see them with their name tags. They have a gold star with them, so please congratulate them when you see them today. We had 10 pro bono investment champions. These distinguished attorneys reported a total of $247,052 in financial contributions amongst the 10 of them. Each of them contributed at least $10,000 in donations to nonprofit legal services in the year of 2022 to 2023. 3 of those are here with us today. Again, they have gold stars, so please recognize and congratulate and thank them if you see them today. We had 1,050 Virginia lawyers make the pro bono service honor roll by reporting at least 40 hours of service in that year. We had 144 Virginia lawyers make the pro bono investment honor roll by reporting contributions of $1,000 or more. So now I'm going to ask and invite the Chief Justice to come down and join me, along with John Whitfield, to present the certificates of those who received the awards. And when I call your name, I'd ask that you come up, join us for a photo, and receive your certificate. So, the pro bono service champions. John, you're going to hand out. The first one is Sarah Bennett Burris, pro bono director and counsel at Troutman Pepper in the 13th Circuit. Thank you. Next is Dennis Russell Kiker, senior attorney from DLA Piper in the 12th Circuit. Next is Lonnie Chip Nunley, partner at Hunton Andrews Kurth from the 13th Circuit. We'll get it. Preston Michael Smith, senior associate at Arnold and Porter of the 33rd Circuit. And finally, Thomas Eugene Struckla, for the founding partner of the Virginia Employment Law Group, 23rd Circuit. Next, we have the presentation of the certificates of the pro bono investment champions. First, we have Leonard Anthony Bennett, the founding partner of the Consumer Litigation Associates out of the 7th Circuit. Is Len here? I don't see Len. All right. Ken Montero, attorney at law. He's retired out of the 12th Circuit. And finally, we have Scott Charles Osteich, partner at McGuire Woods here in the 13th Circuit. Thank you both. I would
Chief
like.
Justice, would a round of applause be appropriate? Thank you for granting my motion.
If there are, I believe we have a variety of honor roll winners here today. So if you were an honor roll awardee who did 40 hours or more, would you please stand and be recognized? I want to thank everyone who's made a contribution to the State Bar, to Pro Bono Services. Thank you all for reporting your hours. And most importantly, the Bar has asked me to remind you we are doing all online forms this year. You will not get a paper form, so remember to fill out your pro bono hours electronically as well this year. Encourage others to do the same. And thank you very much, Mr. Chief Justice.
Thank you.
Mr. Chief Justice, Justices of the Supreme Court, my name is Brian Slaughter, and I am Chair of the Pro Bono Committee of the Access to Justice Commission. Each year, thousands of lawyers donate hundreds of thousands of hours and millions of dollars to the pro bono cause. And as we know, it is not enough. The gap is wide and growing wider. Every day across our state, there are people who need legal assistance they cannot afford. They face challenges that threaten their homes, their families, and their future. As attorneys, we have the power and the skills to change that, to ensure justice for those who need it most. We can do better. We must do better. And today, I'm here to say, in Virginia, we will do better. On behalf of the Supreme Court's Access to Justice Commission, I'm honored to announce a 3-phase statewide pro bono campaign with the goal of dramatically increasing the rate of pro bono service by Virginia's attorneys. We know there are approximately 15 to 20% of attorneys who are going to do pro bono no matter what. They don't need a campaign to do it. A lot of them are in this room. We also know that there are about 30% who aren't going to do it, no matter what. But there's approximately 50 to 60% who are willing to do pro bono if we can show them how, if we can identify the barriers that are stopping them and help them to learn how to represent pro bono clients. It is this group that this campaign seeks to reach. And we have already completed the first phase. For more than a year, we have been diligently laying the groundwork behind the scenes. In partnership with the brightest minds in marketing and behavior analysis, from Capital One's brand group to MIT's Applied Cooperative Initiative, we have developed a deep understanding of what drives and deters pro bono service among Virginia lawyers. And the product of our work is a campaign that is unique in both its content and its scale, with 6 key components, the center of which is professional messaging. Normally, messaging for pro bono recruitment is done by other lawyers with mixed results. We like to think we're good at everything, but that's not always the case. This effort will be different. We have been working with Capital One's brand team to carefully analyze the barriers lawyers feel about performing pro bono service so that messaging can be developed to address and overcome these. This month, they will issue their final report and recommendation, as well as their creative brief. This is the same process that any professional advertising company uses. The next step is to begin to work with the marketing group that Capital One has paired us with, which is the West Carey Group here in Richmond. They are one of Capital One's biggest and most successful vendors. West Carey Group will then use Capital One's findings to develop and produce targeted messaging for the campaign. But messaging alone is not enough, and that is what we have realized over the last year and a half. So another key and I think unique component of this campaign is the Amplifier program. We will leverage talent through those in their communities who walk the pro bono walk. And we know who they are. And more importantly, the legal aid and other legal service providers know who they are. And they are the ones who are going to be nominating the amplifiers. And once we have the amplifiers, we will train them and show them how to mentor, but also just to lead the way in their communities. At a grassroots level, we will connect with local access to justice committees, firms and service committees, and other local bar groups to build on the networks that are already established. Fourth, and critically important, we will partner with the judiciary to help spread the word about the importance of pro bono service. Our justice system was designed with the assumption that people would be represented. And judges see that firsthand every day. I do not say this lightly, but there is perhaps no more important aspect to the success of this campaign than the support of the judiciary. Lastly, we will partner with statewide and specialty bar associations like the VBA to leverage their memberships and to disseminate our message across the state. We will complete the first phase later this month and move on to the second phase, where we produce and refine the messaging, where we recruit and train amplifiers, where we set up networks to access existing social media platforms of bar groups and law firms across the state, where we create a centralized website, and where we set up partnerships with legal service providers to assist them in vetting and placing pro bono cases. I need to backtrack because I forgot one of these 6 pillars to this campaign, and that is the legal aid and qualified legal service providers who are integral to this campaign working. They are the ones who are on the front lines, and they see what the need is, and they are the ones who package the cases and get them to the pro bono attorneys. And we have realized that that step is critically important, that it's done right. Because if somebody is new to pro bono and they get a case that is not packaged right, they might never do it again. Next year, at this time, part 3, going live. Putting all of this work together and instituting the public phase of this campaign. It is our vision that when somebody raises their hand and says, I would like to do pro bono, that they are assisted in finding their fit, what their pro bono specialty will be, what is most meaningful to them. And then once that happens, they are introduced to training and they are trained. And the next step after training is mentoring, because we know people are terrified of going into a courtroom or any type of proceeding when they don't know what they're doing. So we will use amplifiers and other mentors to show people how to do it. And once they're trained and mentored, they'll be ready to take on their own cases and mentor others. And then the cycle begins again. Mr. Chief Justice, in 2 years, I hope to be before this court again, announcing the success of this campaign. But words and plans are the easy part. Implementation is what's hard. We stand at a crossroads where the path to change is clear, but the journey can only be completed if we walk together. Every attorney, every judge, every legal professional in this room and across the state has a role to play. Whether you mentor a young lawyer, take on a pro bono case, or support the campaign's outreach, your contribution is critical to its success. So let's make a pledge, not just in words, but in actions, a pledge to not only consider pro bono work, but to engage in it actively, to not just support the ideas of access to justice, but to be its champions in our communities. The measure of our success will not be in the number of hours logged or the cases closed, but in the lives changed and the communities strengthened by our efforts. We do this for the single mother who keeps her home, for the veteran who receives the benefits he earned, and for the family that is able to stay together. This is the power of our commitment. This is the change we can create together. In closing, I ask each of you to consider the role you will play in this campaign. The path to a more just Virginia is laid out before us, and together we can forge ahead, creating a legacy of service and justice that will endure, hopefully, for the next generation and beyond. Let us commit, let us act, and let us lead by example. The success of the campaign must start with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
May it please the court. Our next speaker comes before us today to offer comments on behalf of the beneficiaries of pro bono services. Geneva Thompson is the sister-in-law of the late Lucy Johnson. Ms. Thompson is here to share with the court and all of us assembled today the moving and impactful story of how the last wishes of a 98-year-old Jackson Ward resident were achieved through the efforts of several pro bono lawyers. Ms. Thompson, thank you so much for being here with us today, and I now invite you to the podium to offer your prepared remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. As you know, my name is Geneva Johnson. Thank you. My name is Geneva Johnson Thompson, and that's my sister right there, Wilnette Johnson Green. We come from a very large family. Our father served in the United States Army, and certainly by the time we were born, we had brothers and sisters who were already married. Lucy Johnson was the first daughter-in-law. She was there for us when we lost our parents at early ages. Today, I want you to know her. I want you to feel her struggles. And I want to tell you that because of the work that was done by the pro bono attorneys, it wasn't just a legal thing. It gave her the opportunity to prove that she had a life worth living. And I hope I'll explain that to you. And I know you can tell from my voice I'm nervous, but we're going to get through this. It was, if you can, allow your mind to see the 1930s. And that's hard for us because we weren't here in the 1930s. But I want you to see this little girl. She's 14. She's working at the Jefferson Hotel. She's not allowed to go through the front door. Her little face was black. When she told me that story, I said, I'm so sorry about that. She said, oh, no, no, no. Don't feel bad about that. Because what I learned at the Jefferson Hotel, I can sit a dinner table for a king or a queen. That was Lucy. If you see something negative, she finds something positive. Now keep your mind focused on her. She's still a teenager, much older teenager. And she goes home one day and she tells her mother, I'm going to have a baby. Her mother said to her, leave my home and just know you're never going to have anything. You're never going to be anything because of the choice you made. Lucy and my brother were married. He served in the United States Air Force, and they were okay. Now, if you can, fast forward into the 1980s. And Lucy is renting a house from her cousin's husband. He went into some kind of financial difficulties, and he said to her, if you would give me X amount of dollars, I don't know how much, I just know it wasn't much because she didn't have much, I will give this house to you. And he wrote it on a little piece of paper that the house was hers. She was so excited because in spite of what her mother said, she now is a property owner. Remember, I told you she worked at the Jefferson and she couldn't go through the front door? And I'm sorry that I have to give you the years the way that I do, but try to stay with me. In 2015 or 16, she called us one night and she says, guess where I'm going? I'm all dressed in red. I'm going out with the Sunshine Ladies of my church. Well, where are you going? I'm going to the Jefferson Hotel. And I get to walk through the door of that beautiful hotel. Again, where I'm still seeing negative, she's seeing positive. Later on, Lucy is putting her things together, papers, and she called me. I need you to go downtown and get a copy of my deed. That was the most difficult thing that we've ever encountered. There was no deed. There was a deed, but it did not have her name on it. But she still had that little piece of paper that her cousin's husband wrote her to say, this house is yours. And when I told her that, she said, this is my house. I paid the taxes. I said, it's not about that. Your name is not on this deed. So she told me, now this is interesting. I know I had you all looking at her at 14, but now she's like an 80-some-year-old woman. And she told me, she said, well, go on your computer and put my name on here.
Now, as attorneys, you all know that I couldn't do that. Every day she was calling. Time has elapsed because in between that, I became ill and had to have surgery, and I had to learn to walk, and there was a lot of stuff going on. But she came back to it. Do you have my deed? Do you have my name on it? I didn't have it. My sister and I did what I think all of you do. We start to Google, and we contact some attorneys and ask them, can you just put her name on here? The prices that they told us, it was not in my budget, nor my sister's, nor Lucy's. So I didn't know what we was going to do. And sometimes, forgive me for being so nervous, you all are so nice, forgive me. But sometimes when you are going through a situation, an opportunity will present itself. An opportunity presented itself because Mayor LaVar Stoney was walking around in her area. And one of the neighbors said, you see that lady in that yard? She's over 90 years old. He said, I've got to meet her. He went to meet her, and he took a picture of her. My sister and I have that picture on our phones, which are out there. And you know, wanting to get her name on that deed, I thought about him. And I told my sister, I'm going to call the mayor because he is in charge of the city real estate. And I'm going to ask him, can he help us to put her name on the deed? And I spoke with his agent. And he said, ma'am, you have to tell me what you want to talk to the mayor about. And I told him. He said, I'll be happy to give that message for you. But that's not who you want to talk to. You need to talk to Krista Gantz. And incidentally, after 5 years of talking to her, I met her for the first time today. So I called Krista. She listened to what I had to say. And she said, do you know about pro bono? No, I don't. Either she said, I'll call you tomorrow, I'll call you next week. Whatever time she said she was going to call, she called me back. And she gave me a name. And I wish he was here today. Attorney Daniel Rosenthal. And I told him the story. And he said, I will take it. I will help you. He got a group of people together. Everything that he was doing, if this didn't work, if he needed this piece of paper, if he needed us to meet with him, step by step so that we could understand. And he was able to work it out to get Lucy's name on her deed. And I guess you're saying, why didn't you get the person who wrote that note to transfer the deed? I told you at the beginning this lady had struggles. He couldn't do it because shortly after he got the funds from her, he died. And so that's why there was no one to transfer the deed into her name. So to make a long story short, and you don't have to listen to my nervous voice any longer, I want to say what these attorneys did was not like legal services. They poured their heart, they poured their energy, and all of their efforts into making sure that she saw her name on that deed. And so I stand before you today. I want to say thank you first to Krista Gantz for taking my call. I want to say thank you to Attorney Doug Guru. Haven't met him either. And I want to say thank you to Attorney Solomon Ashby. And certainly last but not least, I want to say thank you to Attorney Daniel Rosenthal. And to the person who thought of this pro bono idea or legal system or whatever you call it, you all can tell I'm not legally inclined. I want to say thank you to that person You see, on October the 29th, 2023, our dear sister-in-law died. But we know in our heart that she died with the two things that bothered her the most. I'm sure there was a lot of things that bothered her, but the two things that bothered her the most, her time at that hotel, she got to go back to it and go through the front door, and she got to see her name on that deed. She was a property owner, in spite of what her mother said. So I say thank you to every one of you, and thank you for listening.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing those words, for sharing your family's personal story. I hope I can speak on behalf of all of us here today when I say that your comments were meaningful, they were inspiring. I see people with tears. Thank you so much. It's so important as we come together and we talk at the Hetrick lunch and we talk at the summit. It's lawyers talking to lawyers primarily, and that's very important. But hearing from people who actually go through the situations, every single case that a pro bono lawyer takes, there's somebody like your sister-in-law and like the two of you who have experiences, and it's so wonderful for us to be able to hear from you personally and directly. So again, thank you so much. We come to the close of another biannual Pro Bono Summit, and I can't help but reflect positively on the scope and magnitude of the great work that our local direct service nonprofit legal providers, including our legal aid programs and independent not-for-profits, the dedicated work of our pro bono lawyers in private practice, corporate law departments, public service, and even colleagues who have retired from the active practice, full-time practice, I should say. Sorry, Roy. But still are dedicated in providing their time and energy. As Judge Ortiz noted just a few moments ago, the number of pro bono hours exceeded, the pro bono hours reported exceeded 355,000 in 2023, and financial contributions exceeded $1.7 million. And that's great, but the needs of our community grow each and every day. As detailed in the written summary from the State of Pro Bono report, and as David Newmeyer noted earlier, yes, it's nice that we've filled the placement gap since the pandemic, but in the nearly 6,000 cases that were placed, we're still, 3,000 short? And again, if we were anywhere close to our aspirational goal as a professional community, my guess is that gap would be a lot smaller, and that's something that we all can work towards. And Brian, we hope that the initiative that you articulated gets us quite a ways there. So on behalf of Nicole Harrell, my co-chair at the VBA Pro Bono Council, I very much thank the court for allowing us to come together and spend time as a community talking about our collective accomplishments, reflecting on the areas where we can better serve the needs of our community. And I also want to thank each of our speakers for being here today and offer my congratulations to the pro bono service and champions and the pro bono investment champions. Just a few logistics, and then I'll sit down and hopefully we can move on to our last piece of the festivities. For all of you in attendance, we invite you to join us for a reception at the Capitol. Even if you didn't RSVP separately to the event, I have been told that you have all been RSVP'd separately to the event, so you're welcome to join us. It's a short walk to the Capitol visitor entrance where you will need to check in and go through security. I've been asked to ask you to keep your name badges on. It'll facilitate the check-in process and it will help us talk to each other, which is a nice thing. So thank you all once again. Mr. Chief Justice, honorable justices of the court, thank you very much.
On behalf of the court, I would like to thank you all for all that you do to improve access to justice in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you for your pro bono service. Thank you for being here. This court's adjourned.
All rise.